Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is July 31st. I'm delighted that you have found me and are choosing to spend some time with me. Welcome to Soulprint. So, I have a question. I would like to do a little bit of a deep dive on the Maxwell-Epstein connection and what exactly is going on there. And I have to tell you, I know literally next to nothing about these people. Like literally what I know about them honestly could, fit on the head of a pin. So I'm kind of reading a little blind. So if I get some details wrong or mix things up, just, bear with me. So let's focus in on exactly what their relationship was. And more importantly, whether or not she is going to prove instrumental or not instrumental in the Epstein legal situation. Is she going to turn? Is she going to spill her guts? Is she going to stay silent and, in the name of love? Let's find out. Come on down. Okay. Epstein and Maxwell. Epstein and Maxwell. Epstein and Maxwell. Alrighty. So, they had a life. They had a life together. They each had their role that they played. In a twisted way, they supported each other. And, the most obvious way would, of course, be she supported him emotionally in terms of aiding and abetting his lower and baser instincts. And he, in turn, supported her in the manner in which she was accustomed to and wanted to continue to live. So it was a mutually beneficial relationship for both of them. And frankly, they knew each other's secrets. These two little children here literally are them at the beginning of the relationship. So it's showing an evolution, okay, where they knew each other for a long time in a kind of weird way. I'm going to use the phrase grew up together, even though I'm not necessarily talking about ages as much as development or evolution. Unfortunately, that evolution by most people's standards would be considered going backwards, but be that as it may. So they had the life they wanted. They thought that they had kind of all their ducks in a row, right? They had themselves well protected. They didn't see this ever coming to an end because, of course, he was more than capable of buying off trouble, right? And keeping things quiet and perhaps even blackmailing the appropriate or necessary people. Well, and isn't this sad? It has all started to fall down. It hasn't completely fallen down on her. It hasn't completely crashed on her yet, but I'm going to say it probably is going to. In many ways, she is a figure shrouded in darkness, right? There might be stuff known about her in terms of, public records, that kind of thing, but there's not a lot of information known about the inner workings of that relationship. There are accusations about things she did for Epstein, but the details aren't sort of flushed out. So in some ways, she's still very, very much a mystery figure, if you will. Money. It was about money. It was about building sources. It was about creating a network. This was very much viewed as a business, as opposed to a hobby. Okay, it was something that was very strategic. They had a lot of in place to keep the protection up and to sort of move the syndication of this forward. And of course, here we have the tower. And here we have them both falling down. So, let's go a little deeper on this and see what we can see. Yeah, okay. All right. They are definitely going to be forced or challenged to walk away. Certainly Epstein is removed at this point from his rather slimy dealings. The truth terrifies him. The truth is bigger and broader and yuckier than anything most of us can imagine. Okay, it's deeper and darker, and they are literally terrified of it coming out because they know that globally emotions are going to shred them. They are not going to be seen in any sort of a good light. So the question is, does she find a way to protect herself or wiggle out of danger? I'm going to say that there's probably some information that she's going to pass along, but I don't see her sort of opening up the black book, if you will, and reading chapter and verse. Okay, she's going to be very guarded and very protected about what she chooses to share or not share. She's addicted to him. Okay, I'm not going to use the word love because I don't know about you, okay, but I don't quite exactly understand that category of love. I'm sure in her head it is, but to her it's more like an addiction. She helps him satisfy his addiction, and in turn she satisfies her addiction, 1 to money, 2 to status, and 3 to him. So she is going to be very, very reluctant to let go of those things that she views as significant and important in her life, and those things that give her life meaning and structure, as kind of sick as that sounds. It is the government that came after them. It was the United States government that came after him. I don't know. I have been asked, if there were outside forces, if other countries were involved. In terms of other countries, what I actually get is that as a result of what the United States has done, other countries are going to start searching. They're going to look at things from a different perspective, and they're going to start peeling back the layers. So any place where he had business dealings, where he had property, where he spent a lot of time, those different jurisdictions, those different countries are also doing their own deep dive. So even if somehow he survives being in jail, which, not so sure, even if he does, and even if somehow William Barr, although I don't think he will, but even if somehow William Barr really, really inserts himself and does really overt things to protect him. I'm not suggesting he won't do some stuff, because Barr is, right in there, but really, really overt things. The other countries, and other jurisdictions will pick up the slack, which in fact is exactly, exactly what happened in this instance, where Florida dropped the ball. Another jurisdiction picked up the slack and said, no, we're gonna dive deep on this, and we're gonna get this guy. And other countries are going to do the same thing. So honestly, if this continues to unfold, this man is in a world of legal hurt and financial suffering for the rest of his life, however long or short that may be. He's not going to escape this. He is well and truly trapped. As for Ms. Maxwell, she, again, very concerned about her possessions, the things she has, her status, not going to be very, very anxious to, let go of them. She sees them as the lovers, right? In some way, she, that law about how one spouse cannot or does not have to testify against against their spouse. That's actually kind of the mindset that she is in. She very much views them as a unit, and she very much views that she should not have to say anything that is going to put Jeffrey in danger or in more trouble. What she's not understanding is coming down the pike is a world of hurt for her. A lot of indecision, a lot of confusion, because you know what? She's not escaping this. She is going to be in a lot of trouble. So, given that, I guess it's going to boil down to literally, is she likely to sort of testify against him? Is she likely to come clean? It is a very heavy decision that she has to make, a really significant one. I do not see her having clarity at this point in time. She very much doesn't know which way to turn. On the one hand, she thinks that they're a unit and they're a partnership and she shouldn't have to testify against him. On the other hand, she is being told, listen, sweetheart, it's time to try to defend yourself. It's time to save yourself. But she's not in that headspace, right? Because so much of her life, certainly with Epstein, was all about protecting him, doing for him, serving him, providing him with what he wants. And it's really it's sort of twisted in her head, and I make no excuses for her one little bit. But it is almost like she was doing something because he needed it. And so the fact that what she was doing was illegal or out of bounds or unbelievably immoral didn't factor into it, because her only motivation and concern was giving him what he wanted and needed so she could continue to get what she wanted and needed. And part of what she wanted and needed was the illusion of this solid, united relationship. Okay, there was like a lot of excess in this relationship. There was a lot of over-the-top indulgences, behaviors. It was not, they were not the kind of people who were inclined to keep their business quiet, okay? Certainly the the uglier aspects of their business were kept private, sort of from public consumption, if you will. But within their circle, it was really, really well known what he was about, what her role was in that. And it was supported by a code of silence. So there's a lot of people who knew a lot or knew a little bit, but it was this unspoken rule of we don't talk about it. We keep it close to the vest. And in some ways, that was how they were almost able to do what they were doing for as long as they were doing it. Even after the Florida thing, it didn't really cause them to pull back or honestly even be more careful, because he felt emboldened, right? He felt like, wow, this is so easy. I can just pay off the people. I can have my lawyers negotiate really cushy terms, and I'm just chosen and special, and I can just carry on. And so that was sort of that story there. There's going to be more and more and more information coming out. It's going to, it's like a drip, 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 right? It's very much the same as with Trump, where there is this constant drip, drip, drip of information, and it just, the wheelbarrow gets fuller and fuller, and the burden gets heavier and heavier. And there is an inability to keep pivoting and putting things in a good light. Like at some point, you are so beyond the realm of even logic or intelligent statements that in some ways they honestly would be better off to just stop talking and trying to defend it, because there is no defense. And the walls are coming down, but the information is going to keep coming out in a systematic fashion. A lot of people know a lot of stuff. A lot of people know a lot of stuff. And it's not just going to be her that starts spilling the beans. I almost want to say that there are people behind the scenes that we're not aware of, people who were talked to, people who are quietly being investigated, and they are going to be the ones that start cracking this opened. And in doing that, she may very, very well lose her opportunity to cut a better deal for herself, because, she was given the opportunity to come clean, or she will be. And she, hemmed and hawed and didn't want to, and kind of wanted to give a little bit, but only enough. And she may very, very well end up taking a significant fall, because again, she's just, her energy is just like all about protecting him, and she's very closed. It's Epstein is much easier to read. In some ways, he's so scattered and he's so emotionally volatile right now that it's sort of like an open book. You can just step into the energy and you get all of this kind of information flooding towards you. With her, it's very guarded. I would go so far as to say that even her lawyers do not have anywhere near the information that they should have on her in order to successfully defend her. So, okay, I just have one more question in connection to these two. I'm just hesitating almost to just, I can't find a word for them because their behavior is inhuman, it is cruel, it is callous, and it is selfish. So I'm finding it hard to, come up with, I hesitate to sort of use the word human because I'm not convinced exactly that they have a whole lot of human emotions at all. My next question, and this is going to be a quick dive, is how involved or how much in jeopardy are Donald and Melania Trump? I am not speaking of him as president. I am speaking of them as a couple who associated with, partied with, and certainly knew of what was going on in Epstein's world and universe. So how is this going to affect Mr. and Mrs. Trump? Donald and Melania, Donald and Melania, Donald and Melania. Okay. It is not going to be the immorality of what went on that brings judgment down on them and crashes their world. It is going to be two things. It's going to be their inability to spin this in a way that absolves them. Justice is coming for them. The White House, in effect, can't protect them. It might be able to protect them temporarily, but it is not going to be able to protect them over the distance, okay? So even if they're not caught in this tangled web right now, justice is coming, judgment is coming, the tower is falling, and here we have the two of them. And this is the thing, right? Melania does not get to plead innocence in this situation. First of all, as I understand it, she was an acquaintance of Epstein's for a good long while. I don't know if that preceded her relationship with Donald Trump or they sort of coincided. I don't have that information in my head. But she knew stuff, and she knew how Donald was involved and to what degree he was involved. She is just, in her own fashion, she is almost as much of an enabler as Maxwell is to Epstein. Okay? She allows the Donald to do what the Donald wants because it serves her purpose. And it's all about the money for him. It's all about the money. And the money is going to be what brings him down. So they're going to get tangled in this web, whether they get tangled in it kind of right away or whether that web takes a little bit more time to unfold. It appears to me that this is also going to be part of what brings them down. Again, I have long said that Trump is going to end up in a situation, and we all, all the readers say, they use the same phrase, death by 1,000 cuts. This is going to be just one more legal problem, one more thing he's going to have to defend against, one more thing there isn't a defense against. And when it comes to the Trump family, It is not their immoral actions that are going to bring them down. It is not the cruelty. It is not all the things that we look at and go, oh my God, what is the matter with you people? It is the money. The money, their interests, the way they maneuver it, the way they hide it, the things that their money is involved with that are really not legal, that's going to ultimately be what brings them down. So, I'm going to go like play in the garden and like sage my house and get out in the sunlight. And I hope you do too, honestly. Go breathe some fresh air. But that is my insights on those two couples and their interactions with each other. And perhaps what's going on, particularly with Epstein and Maxwell. This situation is probably going to require another visit. But for now, that's what I have on that topic. This was a viewer request. In fact, I think it was actually more than one viewer request. So hopefully this answers some of the questions you had. So for now, take care. Be well, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.